At my mother's 60th birthday party, right when everyone was raising their glasses for a toast, she laughed, clinked her glass with a dramatic flourish, and announced, "And let's not forget my daughter, who's so broke she begged me for rent this month, pathetic at her age." The room froze. My stomach dropped so fast I swear I felt the floor tilt. People laughed, some politely, some awkwardly, but all their eyes snapped to me, waiting for my reaction. And I stood there, smiling like a cracked porcelain doll, pretending it didn't burn. Tell me honestly, would you have let that slide? Or would you have done what I did? The truth is, the story didn't start on her 60th birthday. It started long before that, long before I realized that my mother treated humiliation like a hobby and my life like a prop she could drag into the spotlight whenever she needed attention. Growing up, she wasn't nurturing. She was theatrical. Everything was for show. Her perfect hair, her perfect smile, her perfect Instagram-worthy life decades before Instagram even existed. And then there was me, not perfect, not shiny, just her daughter, the built-in contrast to make her glow brighter. She loved telling people how she raised me all alone, even though I practically raised myself. She loved bragging about the sacrifices she made, though most of those sacrifices existed only in her stories. And she especially loved highlighting my failures because they made her look heroic and long-suffering. I didn't understand this pattern until much later. When you're a kid, you think your mom's behavior is normal, even when it chips away at you year after year. Fast forward to adulthood. I had moved out at 19, and I rarely, if ever, asked her for help. I worked 2 jobs in my early 20s to stay afloat, and even when I struggled, I kept my pride. She liked to say I was stubborn, but the truth was I didn't want to hand her ammunition. Then, last year, I lost my job. It wasn't my fault. My company shut down overnight. I had savings, but with rent, utilities, groceries, and job hunting costs, those savings evaporated faster than I expected. I applied for everything: admin jobs, retail, bookkeeping, even night shift warehouse work. I got interviews, but no offers. And after 2 months, I finally caved. I texted my mother. Just once. Just one message. "Can I borrow $400 for rent? I'll pay you back as soon as I get a job." She replied within seconds. "Of course, sweetheart. Come over tonight." Her instant enthusiasm should have been a red flag, but I was stressed and desperate, and I told myself maybe she really wanted to help this time. When I went to her house, she had wine glasses out. She poured herself a generous amount, then gave me a glass even though she knew I don't drink when I'm stressed. She made a whole production of asking, "So tell mommy why you're struggling." She wanted details. She wanted drama. I kept it simple. Lost job, savings gone, rent due. She looked at me for a long moment, then sighed dramatically and said, "I'll give you the money this time, but you need to learn responsibility. You're almost 30, you shouldn't be living like this." I swallowed the sting and nodded. I just needed the help, not a lecture. She handed me the money like a queen bestowing a blessing. I thanked her. I meant it. I really meant it. And then, the following week, I got a job offer. A good one. I felt like things were turning around, and I even texted her to tell her the good news. She never replied. 2 weeks later, her 60th birthday party rolled around. It was supposed to be a grand celebration. She rented out a banquet hall, invited around 80 people, some relatives, some coworkers, some people I didn't even recognize. She made me come early to help set up, which mostly meant she ordered me around while telling people, "Oh, she's my little helper. Too bad she can't help herself." I pretended not to hear it. I just wanted to get through the night without being turned into a spectacle, but I should have known better. When the speeches started, I stood near the front because she insisted on it. She wanted family by her side. The first few speeches were harmless. Then she grabbed the microphone. She made jokes about getting older, about her coworkers, about her sister. Everyone laughed. Then she turned toward me, grinning like she had just thought of something brilliant. And she said it, loudly, clearly. "And let's not forget my daughter, who's so broke she begged me for rent this month, pathetic at her age." People gasped. Some laughed. Some avoided eye contact. I stood still, frozen, my heart pounding in my ears while my mother smiled triumphantly at the audience, basking in the attention. She didn't care that she humiliated me. She enjoyed it. I felt the betrayal burn down to my bones. In that moment, I realized she didn't help me out of love. She helped me because she wanted this moment, this joke. this punchline, this humiliation. That $400 was her ticket to publicly degrade me. I didn't make a scene. I didn't storm out. I didn't cry. Instead, I clapped, slowly, deliberately. People looked confused. I smiled at my mother, cold, sharp, icy, and said nothing. Because in that silence, I made a decision that would change everything. So that's the situation I was in. Before I tell you what I did next, I want you to pause for a moment and tell me honestly, what would you have done in my shoes? Would you have swallowed it to keep the peace? Or would you have done what I did? Comment below, because I really want to know how others would have handled this. After that moment, the night continued as if nothing had happened. People avoided me or gave me sympathetic looks, but no one said anything directly. My mother floated around the room like she was the Queen of England, delighted with the chaos she'd caused. I kept smiling. I kept laughing. And I kept thinking. I remembered all the years she'd done this, telling relatives embarrassing stories about me that were twisted or exaggerated, using my personal life as entertainment at parties, mocking my weight when I was a teenager, bragging about fixing me. I remembered every moment I stayed quiet because I wanted peace, but peace had never bought me even 1 ounce of respect from her. I left the party early. I hugged her goodbye, sweetly, and said, "Happy birthday, Mom. You deserve a night you'll never forget." And she smiled, thinking she'd won. What she didn't know was that I had spent the last few weeks, during my unemployment, organizing her financial documents. Not because I wanted anything, but because she had told me she needed help understanding her retirement account. In the process, I discovered things she never wanted anyone to know. Her perfect life? Not so perfect. She was in massive credit card debt, tens of thousands. She had taken out a second mortgage on her house. And worst of all, she had drained part of the fund she was managing for my grandmother, a fund the entire family trusted her with. She wasn't the responsible matriarch she pretended to be. She was drowning financially and lying to everyone about it. And she mocked me for borrowing $400. I spent the next 2 days debating my next move. I didn't want revenge out of pettiness. I wanted justice. I wanted accountability. And I wanted her to learn that she couldn't keep weaponizing my life without consequences. So I made a choice. I gathered every document she had given me, every statement, every letter, every proof. I organized everything into neat files. And then I sent those files anonymously to 3 people. My aunt, who trusted my mother with the grandmother fund, my mother's best friend, who constantly bragged about how financially wise my mother was, and my mother's workplace HR department, because she had recently been trying to negotiate a higher role based on financial stability and had submitted falsified personal background information. The fallout was nuclear. My aunt called me screaming at first, accusing me of sabotaging my own mother. I let her finish. Then I calmly explained everything. Every document, every number, every lie my mother had fed her over the last few years. And my aunt went silent. Then she started crying. Not for me, for my grandmother. She said I trusted her. We all trusted her. My mother's best friend stopped talking to her completely. Apparently the financial guru persona had been her entire social identity. And HR, they opened an investigation. A serious one. Apparently, lying about financial standing on certain documents is a big deal in her workplace. My mother called me 3 days later. She didn't yell. She didn't beg. She didn't even ask me why. She whispered, "You ruined my life." And I said, "You humiliated me for sport." She told me I had destroyed her reputation. I told her she had destroyed her own life long before I exposed it. She started crying. Real crying, not performative. And I felt nothing. Not anger, not satisfaction, just clarity. For the first time, I realized she didn't want a daughter. She wanted an accessory, a prop, a punchline. We haven't spoken since. My grandmother's fund is now being overseen by my aunt. HR took disciplinary action. My mother's social circle shrank overnight. She tried to spin stories about me, but no one believed her anymore. The truth had receipts. And as for me, I repaid the $400 the moment I got my first paycheck. I left the envelope on her porch with a note. "Here's the only thing you ever gave me without strings. I don't regret what I did. Not for a second." She taught me that humiliation is a weapon. I taught her it can backfire. And now I'm asking you, was I wrong? Would you have exposed her? Or would you have stayed silent and kept letting her tear you down? Like this video if you think she pushed me too far. Subscribe for more stories like this. And let me know your final thoughts in the comments. I'll see you all in the next story.